Good afternoon. My name is Tumi Tladi and welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's get down to business. So this is going to be a second session for today, a final one, where we're going to be talking about startup page. So in our previous episode, previous session, we looked at the version update page. It's a feature, it's an incredible one. And because it depends on this startup page, or should I say startup screen page. Let's say this is startup screen. But why did I name it screen though? It's a startup page. Well, it doesn't matter. So this is the page we want to talk about. But there's a lot that goes on this page. Like I said, I want to do everything step by step. And I intended to do app shell after this, but what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do app shell. Instead, I want to do font or some icons and the images, and then the fonts. Yes, we need to talk about these guys. Okay, but for now, let's talk about the startup page. So there's a focus for today. So this page. Now, how do we get to this page? So this is my physical device, this is my actual app, and then I'm just gonna launch it. It's gonna go straight to startup page, but it does a lot before it gets to a startup page. So it's gonna check for version updates if there's any. See, it's a startup page that checks for version updates. So that's the essential reason, because I can do a lot of things before we get to this actual page. A lot of things. I can check for permissions if we granted them. I can check so many things. Okay, so Visual Studio. Well, previously I looked at the version updates, so I'm going to close everything. And I'm going to start from scratch. So do we need the model? Do we have the model? We don't have the model for our startup page. Let's see. No, we do not have the model. We don't have the service for startup page. But we do have the view model. So startup screen, view model. And then finally, we have the content page from the views. So startup page, let's open this one. And then let's also show the code behind if there's anything of interest, of which there is. So as you can see on the app, can I do back? You see I'm clicking back, there's nothing for me to do there. Okay, because I'm preventing it I'm overriding on back button press to say do not do anything. Okay, so there's nothing else here that's very important in the code behind of the page. But when this page gets to be called, it initializes and binds the view model to the binding context, right? So we should talk about this view model first. We already touched a bit on it, like the service. We need this service in order to pull information about the version updates, but it does have its own properties, like the image height of type double. It does have a client button if it's enabled or not. It also have a customer button if it's enabled or not. So both of these properties by default are being assigned false. So what am I talking about as far as the app is concerned? So the client button, it's for the business or store owner. Currently it's tickable. That means it is enabled. And then the customer button, by default we know it's false, but it is currently enabled. So we want to know how. We already spoke about this property in our previous episode. Please watch it. I'm not gonna go there. And then we have the click event handlers, or should I say commands that react to the buttons being clicked. So let me do this. Okay, for the client, what happens when you click this button? I'm a customer or store owner, and also the customer command, I'm a customer visitor. So what happens? And by the way, why did I give them the name like a business or store owner client? Because those are my clients. You are therefore their customer or their visitor, but they are my clients. So it was easy for me to come up with the name client. So we already covered this in one of our previous videos, commands. I'm not going to get to it, like we did cover this extensively. I'm just going to asynchronously execute this method client. And then for customer, when the button gets to be clicked, it's going to asynchronously execute this customer method. And then the constructor, we're going to go to App Center, execute App Center analytics. It's a basic thing where we are using API analytics API from Microsoft.App Center to use a track event to track the custom event, where we're going to get device info using device info API of Xamarin Essentials, information about the device, the name, to say this device launched startup screen page on this date and time. It's very, very important because I do have analytics on App Center or dashboard. And then we also want to check the device height. This is very critical. Absolutely, this is very critical. I'll explain why. Before I talk about that, I realized that my device, you see how perfect it is, everything, because these are, I call them bottom buttons. They're stacked at the bottom, they're pushed at the bottom. But this image, it's a fixed image, but it's big. So some of the devices that this image was here, there was no space here and it was ugly, but the way it's being designed, structured, and engineered, it's perfect. My logo and then space at the top, it's perfect. So that's why I still need to check the device height. So with that being said, let me close this guy before it confuses me. So check device height. I'm gonna use one of the APIs from Xamarin Essentials called the device display, to get information about device screen. So main display info, and then I'm gonna check the height out of it. I'm gonna check if it's greater than 1.5, and then the height should be image height. You see, this image height should be 360. If it's greater than 1.4, should be 340. If it's greater than 1.3, and so it's like I'm playing with the height of the image and reducing it. I hope it makes sense. And then I'm just going lower as 250, which is the else part. So that's it basically. So that means there is a property called image height, and we did take a look at it upstairs. Image height, there we go. Finally, asynchronously, I am executing show info, and then you see the consistency of the names, like App Center Analytics. You will see that you will never see a different name from one view model to another. You will see the same view method name on all the view models. The same way as if I need to show information on the constructor or fired up by the constructor, the name of the method is going to be show info. So we are doing this asynchronously from the constructor, where what we are doing, I'm not going to talk about this portion. We did cover this portion in a previous video, but what I'm saying is, like in this case, if the version internal is equals to the version external 2, just enable those buttons. You see all of them that are being enabled, which is what we see here. They are enabled. Other than that, if this guy it's null, we cannot find anything still, or that if it's null, still enable them. So that's what we do. And then we just use catch block, and I do a lot in catch block, and this is very interesting. I do a lot on a catch block, and I want to show this. Okay, on the catch, the very first thing, I'm also manipulating and making use of vibration API from Xamarin Essentials. Provides an easy way to make the device vibrate, where I'm gonna vibrate for this. How long it is supposed to vibrate? Let's see quickly. Obviously, this property, oh no, just a static variable for 4 seconds. So it's gonna vibrate for 4 seconds. Okay, and then I'm checking the if statement. If the exception message contains this, I did test this, and then show the business indicator, if it's visible, should disappear, and then connectivity is visible, should show. The message should say internet connectivity, connection lost, check your internet connectivity, blah blah blah. And then we're gonna delay this thing for 15 seconds, and then we're gonna kill the application. And actually I want to show this. I want to show this. Yes, I want to show this. Else, if that's not the case where the message contains the domain, just get the, use Crash's API from Microsoft.App Center, where we're going to track the error and send it to my App Center dashboard all the way to the cloud. Use this. Now, I don't use a typical message box, or should I say toast messages. I'm using from this guy called, I believe it's Richie, I forgot his name, but this is a new package. It's called user dialogues. We'll talk about how you initialize this user dialogues. And then what it does is that it can provide an instance, and then this instance has alerts, so I can manipulate alerts where I can show an error occurred, and I'm using string interpolation, getting the message, and then say version update error. But I'll talk about this in a second. And then finally, after all said and done, I'm removing making base indicator to disappear. But speaking of that base indicator, you probably want to see this often, where I'm showing the base indicator, and then I am showing the color for the base indicator, and then I'm having the message of the base indicator. That's why I have this global variables class helper class, to have these static guys. So let's go to utilities, global variables. So I have a lot of things, but I want to focus on these guys. Nah, it's too much. There's so many things to talk about here. But basically, I have things that generally I want, globally to be accessible, like latitude and longitude. But what's the point of me talking about this if there's not there's no need for me to talk about. But on the startups version update, you see this loading message, startups, where it says loading. Please wait while we check for new updates. This is what keeps on showing up. Okay, so that's what we have. So that's it basically. And then the page itself, we know it's a content page, and then we are binding the context to this startup screen view model, the one we just taken a look at. And then we are referencing the base indicator, we are referencing the connectivity view, we are playing with the background color for the entire page, as you can see here, the entire background color. And then we has navigation bar, there's no navigation bar, and then shell nav bar is visible, false. We'll talk about it. There's a shell. I intend to do that. App shell. I intend to do app shell, but not now. So shell nav bar is visible. It's false, and I'll tell you why this is very important. And then I'm using the absolute layout. I'm filling everything, and then obviously this is how I get to set up the connectivity view and the base indicator view by using its visible attribute, making use of those properties from base view model. But the main thing is this stack layout. So I only have the image because it's going to look for the logo, and then aspect is going to fill, and then you see height request, it's going to use that image height, binding to that image height. So I'm talking about this image, and then horizontal options and vertical options, it's at the center. And then there's the margin, I'm just pushing it 60 from the top only. And then we have another container, which is stack layout, where the style is going to be stack layout bottom container from application resources from here. And then we have the background color from that, and then we have the stack layout where we are sticking the label but horizontally. See the orientation is horizontally. Now the label, we'll talk about the font awesome icons, but just know that this is making use of font awesome to get this icon. See this exclamation mark, and obviously this is the text color. And then we'll say proceed by choosing a user profile below. That's what we see here. Proceed by, so this contains the stack layout horizontally. The orientation is horizontal, and then I have the buttons, these two buttons. The very first button is bind it to a client command, where since I'm a business or store owner, it's enabled. See, there still is a property bound to it, the style, buttons bottom, the background color, and then the same thing with the second button where I'm a customer visitor, bound to customer command is enabled, bound to customer button is enabled, the style of referencing that static resource buttons bottom, and then the background color. So this is it basically. Very simple stuff. Please give me a second. I need to check my pots since I'm still cooking. I'm cooking for my girlfriend. So yeah. Apologies about that. Okay, so basically that's what we see on this page. Basically. Okay. Is anything okay? Let me show this guy, which is stack layout bottom button. So it's a type stack layout. It's targeting target type stack layout. So the background color is gonna use this, right? That means the container from here. So the background color is gonna be the same color as this one, and then horizontal and then vertical options. Horizontal is gonna fill and expand. That's why the buttons are stretched. Or rather, that's how. No, this is this guy. That's why it's been pushed down. And then vertical options, it's end and expand. So end and expand, and then those extra buttons, those two buttons. This is the key targeting the button. The text color is gonna be white, and the border width is gonna be 2. Border color is gonna be like gray. So let's look at that. Text color is white, and then border width it's 2, and then the color is like gray, and then the background is it's using dark, I believe. Yes, no, it's using off navigation bar, and then height request is 56. So the height is 56. So that's how I'm making use of this guy globally, because they're being used multiple times, these bottom buttons. And then I said I want to show this plugin called user dialogues, right? It's a plugin. So we're gonna go to dependencies, packages. Now the same package, this package, it's also on platform specific projects like Android and iOS. So this is the package. And then with this package, we then use Android to initialize it. So let's go to main activity on Android. Just give it a couple of seconds. A couple of more seconds. There we go. There we go. So line number 33, it's a plugin acr.userdialogues, register initialize user dialogues class. So user dialogues.init, passing in the current context, right? Or the current activity. Yes, initialize Android user dialogues. And then do we do the same thing for iOS? Let's see. Let's go to app delegate. Give it a couple of seconds. I want to see. It seems like we do not do that. No, we do not do that. Automatically, it gets to be wired up for iOS. Yes. Okay, cool. And yes, that's how we get to make use of this guy to have access to a whole lot of stuff. Yes, so basically this is what I want to show, because from here it is start up. I mean, I can either go say I'm a business or store owner, or I'm a customer. So we're still going to explore these two buttons, each and every one of them. But what I want to do in the next video, so let me close this. What I want to cover in the next video, because I'm done with this guy. What I want to cover in the next video, it's not app shell. Don't save. It's not app shell that I want to cover. So we are done with the startup. I want to cover font awesome icons. App shell will come at a later stage after that. I want to cover the topic of yes, it's fine. Font awesome. Cut here. So there's not going to be number 16 here. Instead, number 16 is going to come. I want to cover this topic. It's a very interesting topic. And then this will be 17, and this will then be 18. So yes, I want to cover tomorrow font awesome icons. It's not going to be long. I also want to cover images for both platforms, platform specifics, and then the fonts that are being shared. And then I can get to app shell. But before app shell, we should talk about so many things. That like this page of what happens when you're a business or a store owner. So that should come before. So you won't be here. And then what happens here, but there's so much that needs to go in here, and there's so much that needs before we get to app shell. There's so much. But with that being said, thank you very much. Listen, I hope that this video provides some insights. If it did, please give it a thumbs up, like it, share the video, leave the comments if you have any question that you need me to clarify, and then finally subscribe to this YouTube channel, and then click on the notification bell to be notified when I drop videos, because there's more that's coming, more videos. As you can see, there's more videos. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that we'll meet again next time.